for me.
You just turned your mic to that camera. There.
Hello, everybody. Sam here.
Hey, Sam. We're just waiting. We haven't started yet. We still got about 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Perfect. Carmen said that he would be on or be in a minute.
Is that Sam? Are you on phone, Sam, or are you actually on video?
I don't. My camera doesn't work, but I'm on the Microsoft Teams meeting via audio.
Okay, but you have the packet, right?
I do. I have it on my email here.
Okay, so we'll just kind of go through these bullet items, and we'll run through 13 items. Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Come on in. We're waiting here yet. We haven't got started. Okay, Arian, we can get started.
Okay, let's do roll call. I'll go down the list here. Randy, do you want to go through who's in the room?
Sure, I'll start with me, Randy Dixon, Operations Administrator.
Bill Otten, Commission Member.
Kelly Burnett.
Okay, who's online?
Sam Crowley, Commissioner.
Bill Davis, Commissioner.
Patty Scott, Commissioner.
Ariane Lyons, Commissioner. And then we have guests. Chris, do you want to introduce?
Chief of Police, Coos Bay.
And another guest. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Chris Chapin-Arm, Deputy Chief of Coos Bay Police Department.
Thank you. That is everybody that is listed online. We'll move to approve the minutes of October 22nd. Has everyone had a chance to review, and would someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from October 22nd.
That is Patty making the first motion. Do I have a second?
I'll
Sam
second.
Crowley will second.
I got Sam, I think, beat you in there. Sam Crowley is second. Hearing no no's, the motion to approve the minutes is approved. Moving on to citizen input, public comment.
Okay, yes, we have some of the members, we have a member here that's from the Pirate neighborhood area. He would like to speak about access from the Pirates Court area into Empire Lakes. So I'm going to turn it over to Trevor. Trevor, would you come up to the podium and give us a briefing of your residence, where you're at, address, name, and what your issues?
Can I take this off?
Yes, you may.
It's a little easier. Good evening. My name is Trevor Thomas, and I'm here to represent the homeowners on Pirates Court. We have an easement there that has been nothing but a problem, and I'm requesting that to the Parks Department that we could, if we could get this closed, it would make everybody's life a lot simpler. There was in the paperwork there's a sheet of all the problems that we had let me find it here. I imagine everybody's read that. Do you want me to read?
No, you don't have to read it. It was in the packet. Did all the board members have a chance to review that language that Trevor's talking about from the neighborhoods?
Okay.
Yes.
I do have a map here that you could put on the screen, maybe.
We actually have a map
Do you
right
have it
there. So it's on the video right now, Trevor, and it's a map of Pirate Court and that specific right-of-way.
Okay.
And right at the end of it, Trevor is looking at wanting to secure that access. Am I correct, Trevor?
That is correct, thank you.
And he has proposed to pay for the material, the lumber and the fence, to put a cross fence that ties his neighbor and his fence together to close off that access. Because the reason for this is they're getting a lot of homeless coming in there at all hours of night, hanging out in that right-of-way and then creating havoc against their properties. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Hey, Randy, this is Gary McCullough, Chief. What was the purpose of that pathway through there to begin with? It doesn't benefit anything other than the folks off of Pirates Court.
Yeah.
I can explain that if you'd like.
There's many accesses to the park, and it's not uncommon to invite neighborhoods by walking trails into a natural park such as Empire Lakes, John Toppets. We have other locations that have access from another access point rather than Pirates Court. So it's not like we would be losing any access by closing this access off. And as Trevor has said before, within, I believe it's 100 feet, maybe 200 feet from that location is another location that they can access the park to at.
That is correct, about a block away.
There you are.
But there's I'm just, speaking from the police point of view, there's no safety issues with blocking that off on we have no issues with because I never did understand why it was there to begin with. I understand the ones off of Augustine and Crocker and all those, but why that one's private one off of that one never made sense to me.
Yeah, the other access, the other good thing about that access, and Mark, I'll ask you to kind of give us some insight on, it would be a good access for fire serviceability at that point if you had to, correct? What if we were able to put a gate with a 300 series lock on it and just have it locked? And if we ever needed access for whatever reason, we could.
I just think that if it's locked off where it's without any access would be the best right now. There's no liability involved with the city. We'll do that. We'll take full responsibility of keeping it
And I don't
clean
have
from
it,
weeds.
I don't have an issue with it, Trevor, just
Right.
other than the fact that everybody is agreeable, that access to that park, if we ever needed to get into it, it might be that we need to, or we can revisit this at another
We would
date.
be accommodating one way or the other to do that, yes.
Okay?
Randy, are we moving from public comment into item number 4, or are we going to stick with,
No, he's still giving comment right now.
okay.
And this location too, Arian, I'll call to everybody, these locations that we had talked about, and I will go ahead and add them in here, but I don't want to go into discussion right now with them, but those other locations are the access to the main entrance points to the park off of Hall and Ackerman. So those that we've already spoke about putting gates, and I want Gary and Mark from the police and fire department to give insight here when we get down there. But this one this location specifically, Trevor is talking about or requesting in public comment today, came to me about 2 weeks ago, and he had asked if he could add this location to the list. That's why he's given you a presentation.
Okay.
So for right now, Trevor, I appreciate you coming forward and giving us information on this. I believe they're going to make a motion or talk about it here and make a motion. You may go ahead and sit down.
I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Has anybody got
afterwards.
any questions about that access?
Trevor,
See-
do you live in one of the places right next to the trail?
Right, there's a,
So there was
there
some
should be,
talk
is there a
about
map
stuff.
in your docket
Right.
there? Okay, I've listed all the homes that are in there, there's 6 of them. It's part of an old subdivision, and basically that easement was for that subdivision
Right.
because
Well-
they were gonna have a
Yeah,
gate
my
out
question
there.
was, there was comment about things being thrown over the fence. I was wondering if that was in your property where you were having stuff thrown over the fence from that.
That's it, because between me and my neighbor.
Right.
We're the ones that take the bulk of this.
Is that,
Garbage dumped behind the fence and, it's been ongoing. It's just got to a frustration point where everybody is, we're all older and it's just.
Right. Does it seem
It'd be a lot better if it was closed. I know it may be an inconvenience for maybe some people that use it, but it's only a block away to
I
a paved
understand that.
easement into the park.
Does it seem like that problem is more at nighttime? Does it seem like it's more of a problem at nighttime as far as things being thrown across the fence?
4:30 in the morning, 2 people came down with bags and stuff, and it looked like it might even come from my neighbor who's absent at this time, and my wife's checking that out right now. It's ongoing, and if we confront them after the dusk hours and things like that, all we do is get a ration of stuff, you know what I'm talking about. And, it's just, I think, time to seal that thing off and just,
Well, to clarify, I just want to make sure everybody understands, 1099 is Trevor's residence, and 1088 is his abutting neighbor on that map. And then that white or that yellow line, you can't see it very well, but it's a about a 12, 14 feet, I think it is, easement that goes through
It's
there.
only 10 foot.
10 foot. So a 10-foot easement between the two property lines, and there's two fences there now, so it's like a tunnel that you're headed into the park with.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
Do we,
Also, is wondering if you fence off your end, I assume that's the street side, are they gonna come from the park and still
No, I'm gonna continue my fence all the way down.
on both ends?
Yeah, across that 10-foot easement.
On both ends?
On both ends,
Okay.
there'll be a fence off, and we'll want to put no trespassing signs there.
Okay, because I was thinking they were still, they just blocked
No,
off
no,
one
no,
or.
no, we gotta have two
Okay.
block outs there. And they'd be simple to remove, just a few screws, and the sections could lift out or whatever. It's just that, yeah, I think this is the best way to go, and I'd be willing to take care of the expense to do that. Is there any other questions?
I think you're good. I appreciate it, Trevor, coming up.
Thanks, Randy.
Mark, I'll ask you first. Do you see any issue with closing that off?
No, I really don't. From a fire safety standpoint, there are enough other accesses to the park. If we needed to, we can, hot fences, we can, cut gates, or open gates. But I really don't see that being utilized as a fire park access. So
Okay.
fire department doesn't close it.
Okay. And Gary, and you don't have any issues neither, you see?
No, the police, I don't see any police issues. You can think of anything, Chris?
Okay, from a operation standpoint, I have no issue with closing that access off. There's plenty of accesses to the park. And I think half the issues we're having out there is just that, way too many accesses. If you don't have some control, you'll lose a lot of control. So I'm for it. I'd like to get a motion on the table to move forward with it.
Quick question, is there going to be a barricade in the park side as well, or just over at?
There'll be a fence, like Trevor is saying, he's gonna fence each side, each
side.
end of that, and then put no trespassing on his side.
Oh, okay.
since we're moving towards a motion and no longer public comment, I'd like to comment on that. I'm a proponent for doing a gate at this time, a locking gate, and then revisiting it in the future when we do the master plan for Mingus or for Empire Lakes, and evaluating access points at that time, instead of making a rapid, quick decision on blocking those off. I think a gate would be a more suitable option.
Okay. Bill? And Carmen, did you hear what Arian was saying there?
I'm sorry.
She was stressing her concern about doing a permanent closure and rather doing a gate with a lock to it.
I did hear that. I feel like it's going to have to be a pretty substantially large gate to actually tell, to deter people from just jumping over it.
Well, and the other thing we have to be concerned with, now we're not talking just one gate, then we're talking two. Because one would be at the east end and one at the west end of that channel.
And are we talking the channel that's just on either side of the pieces of property, or are we talking about another barricade like
No, just
on the park?
just a 10-foot alley that goes down between the two fences.
Just there. So like, I can see that little pathway. Does it connect to the concrete path or the AC pathway that's around the park?
There's a trail it's a dirt trail that leads into the park off in between the two neighbors, the abutting neighbors.
That's another 100 feet or so,
Yeah.
and it's very, very difficult. There's roots and all
Gravel.
kinds of problems with
It's
that.
native ground,
I would like to back up a little bit on that if I could.
sure.
And put a barricade at the upper end where this park access meets your paved area, just saying that there's no exit.
That's
And
where I was going with it too.
That'll help alleviate people wanting to try to go down
Yeah,
there.
we could change the foot traffic if that's what you're talking about, where
Yes.
that would go, and
Yeah.
let people know that that's no longer an
Exactly,
access point.
exactly.
That's what I was asking about
Yeah.
and getting to is like on either side, meaning from the AC trail that's actually around the park, that's
Sure.
part of the park trail system. At that point where it splits off and goes towards your connection point, right there needs to either have a sign or blocked off, and then
Yeah, you bet, yeah.
Just
To
so it-
divert the foot traffic rather than sending them up to the back of the fence and then walking down. the fence.
exactly
Yeah, that's what
We would let them know at that location.
at
yeah.
the location from the AC trail.
And
I mean-
plus do a lot of PSA, do
Yeah.
a lot of information out in the public.
Personally, I feel like a fence is a little bit more of a substantial hurdle for people to. That's just where I'm laying.
Well, and Aaron, to your point, I see what you're saying about the gates, but you're talking about a 10-foot section. If we really if things calm down and we got a grasp on things again, then we can look at going back and removing those sections.
Exactly.
If
I think
things are
that's a-
looking better and move forward at that point. That's an option too.
Okay, I just wanted to be really clear that that can be an access point in the near future, that it's not, the fences are there now, and then it's very clear to the people in that neighborhood and to people who might potentially buy in that neighborhood that that access point could be reactivated.
No, all good points.
I understand that. I think that coming back to that point about the too many access points creates a problem for policing, and right now that seems to be the largest issue we're having with John Toppett's Park is just safety and oversight, and the more points of entry we have, the harder it's going to be able to deal with it. So I'd kind of like to just block it off.
From the police
And
department
not
standpoint-
necessarily in regards to this point, but in regards to blocking off potentially future access points, to get less criminal activity in the park by increasing good activity, I think is one of the better ways to advocate for activity in the park that's positive to help eliminate the negative.
I agree. I just think that a public access point through a small cul-de-sac seems like a strange place for entrance for the public. It seems like a pretty private zone, but that's just the way I look at it. I think there's much more accessible ways to enter the park as opposed to through a cul-de-sac. But in my opinion.
Okay, so, I don't want to leave this, that we're just saying, hey, we're closing this off forever. Right now, we all agree we got an issue here in our community, and we need to back up, rewind it, and try to address these issues for everybody's benefit, and then going forward at that point. So once again, I'll put on the table a motion to move forward, and then let you guys make that. So I turn it back over to you, Aaron.
Would anyone like to make a motion to mitigate this issue?
I move to approve gates at the upper and lower Empire Lake entrance off of Pirate Court, as discussed.
Gate or a fence?
Yeah, can I interrupt? Can we deal with this issue first? Get a motion on it, because I want to leave these gates separately. I want to have Mark and Gary comment on these accesses as well. So just keep your motion to number 3 for right now.
Just Pirate Court.
Pirate Court, yes.
Oh, well, somebody else do that. I need some more.
Sam will
I
move.
move that we build a fence to block off access to Empire Lakes through the Pirate Court street.
Second.
Who was the
So we've, Patty made a motion,
Carmen
Carmen
Matthews,
seconded.
second.
Do we have any comments? Patty, do you want to clarify in that motion, who would be installing the fence?
The landowners indicated that they would build the fence.
Correct.
And do you want to clarify if they are allowed to do no trespassing signage?
Sure.
Can you say that again, Aaron?
Clarify if they're allowed to install no trespassing signage on the
Yes.
fence.
Yes. It would be on their fence.
Okay, so in summary, we have a first and a second for installing fence to block off Pirate Court at both the Pirate Court street side and the park entrance, and the installation of no trespassing signage on the property owner's fence.
Correct.
We have a first and a second. Can I get anyone not approve, since we're doing this both in person and online? Do I have any nays? Hearing none, motion approved.
Okay,
Moving on to the Empire Lakes gates.
sure. So number 4, gate at the upper lower Empire Lake. I'm going to have Gary first give us some insight on it. Gary, would you like to chime in?
Sure. Sure. Now, when you're talking gates, you're just gating the road. You're not putting any fencing. Because the thing is, I mean, you can put a gate up, and that's going to stop your vehicle traffic from going in there, but you're still going to have foot traffic that's going to be accessing that. And the foot traffic is where we run into the problems. We obviously go through there on patrol shifts, and if we locate somebody in a vehicle, where we obviously let them know that it's dusted on and they can't be there. I mean, they get them to roll out, but it's the foot traffic. So I'm not really sure on what kind of impact the gates are going to make on the traffic that we have going into the park at night. But you know, that's kind of you got any thoughts on it, Chris?
No, I agree. I mean, I think if you're trying to limit the access into the parks, or the unwanted access into the parks, the gate may serve as that purpose, but I just have some concerns about the foot traffic, and that's generally what we're needing to deal with, is the foot traffic.
Is putting up gates going to impede the police department from doing their jobs because the gates are going to be locked, and that'll keep you from getting in there quicker?
Well, I would assume that if there are gates, there may be some access. They're probably locking gates, and we would probably have the city lock on it and access. We'd have a key to access that if we needed to. And again, I guess it kind of goes back to what Chief McCullough said. What are we talking about in terms of gates? Maybe if we define that, we would be able to advise better.
Well, and let me interject here. Don't forget, we don't have out there right now our park host, but when we do put park hosts out there, one of the issues that we have been getting from those that have been out there is the repeated early morning hour cars pulling in there and pulling out. One of the thought process was to give that park host a little bit of security when the gates are closed. I get it if we get foot traffic coming in there, but if our hours are such that they're not open at night, they shouldn't be in there.
And by early morning hours, do you mean like 2 a.m. or 6 a.m.?
She quit because of the activity, so she turned in her resume, I don't know, it was maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. So we haven't had anybody back in there because of the heavy foot traffic and vehicle traffic, so.
I guess my next question to that would be, who's going to be responsible for locking and unlocking these gates in the morning and the evening, or the late night?
Well, we've
Because-
already talked to a security company that would assist us, obviously, for a fee for opening and closing them. And there's other options. They can be censored, remote. So it depends on what we want to do or how we want to come about making it as easy as possible for everybody. But still trying to secure it.
Mm-hmm.
Would the security company be willing to go and do a sweep to make sure there's nobody in the park and then close the gates?
Scott, why don't you step up, introduce yourself? This is Scott, he's with the Parks Department, and he can kind of give us some insight. He made the calls with the security.
Two things, the last lady that was out there and the people before her, being with Parks and being on call, there was a number of calls at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, people coming into the park midnight, coming down there and parking, drinking, and smoking dope, and they turn their light on, like, move along, but it's really not their job to go, express that they need to leave.
Yeah.
So, not to say anything to the police chief, but the phone calls I get and there is a problem throughout the nights, people going sneaking in there. Kids and everybody else just say that they go in and they check, that doesn't mean they're not doing it.
Yeah.
The people aren't coming in and out, because I get calls weekly of that.
Yeah.
Now, the phone, when I talked to the security agent, it was actually about the parks, the bathrooms, but they wouldn't, speaking with them, they wouldn't have a problem with doing, it would be more money, of course. And speaking to them with the bathrooms was, yes, we make sure people were out. If there was damages or anything, that they would speak with the officers and make sure there was a report done. And they would unlock them dusk till dawn, and they would adjust their hours for what we needed for baseball games or what else was going into the park. So I assume they would adjust their hours, same thing for the gates.
And Scott's
They do
kind
the
of,
exact same thing for North Bend. They
and
do-
Scott's kind of reaching out to those areas that we were talking about. We're having a major influx on these restrooms of homeless using them. They know they're available, they can get water, they can get utilities. In fact, if they want to get out of the weather, they'll go in there and block themselves in. So, we're getting a little ahead of what we wanted to talk in the format of the agenda here, but basically, those security guards, the ones that we're talking about, would also secure the restrooms and do their due diligence to get them out of there and then open them in the morning. Of course, we still clean, but they would open and close them. Well, if they're going to be there open and closing Empire restroom, they're right there. If you have a gate, they can open and close it too at the hours we dictate.
So personally, I think that having a security sweep of the parking lots and the bathrooms is a good idea, at least for a temporary set amount of time. If nothing else, just to get some data on what's happening over there so that we have concrete numbers about what we need to do in the future, moving forward with the plan, and maybe, just even doing this for a little bit, maybe it would deter some of the activity that we're having, the negative activity. I'm in terms of the locked gated thing. I mean, if it's not a huge detriment to the police department, I do see some merit in it, just keeping the, people who don't need to be down there
Well, I can
in
tell
the middle
you
of the night.
in the mornings, every bathroom has somebody in it. And it wouldn't be bad if we could just go knock on the door and say, we're here to clean. We have to get assistance from the police, not as often as we'd like, but every morning, almost every bathroom has one or two people, they lock themselves in, they spit on our temps, they threaten to stab them, they have dogs, they're tying the doors shut.
Yeah, that's not good.
And so, weekly, they're burning garbage cans. It's just, the damage is atrocious.
It's just getting out of hand right
Yes.
now, and I think we need to make a pretty, substantial move to make this park safe again. I mean, I hear about Empire Lakes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really quite sad to, hear about people not feeling safe walking through there. And the more we, allow it to happen, the worse it will be. And then back to Ariane's point about bringing good activity back to the park. That's the only way we're going to get there, is making sure people feel safe in there once again. And I think it's gonna take some tough decisions from us and the city staff to make this,
I agree.
make it work. So I don't know, I'm for the gates if it works with the police department, if they're okay with it.
Well, I would
and-
like
and the
to
fire
get,
department.
I'd like to get Mark's input too. We're still
Hey,
on
Randy,
four.
Randy,
Yeah.
could I ask one question before we move from the police? Would we have access to these gates or into these gates if because the only thing I'm thinking is if we needed to get in there for foot traffic, or we get a report that there is a large number of homeless or transient folks inside the park after hours, would we have access in there?
Sure, you would. It would be a typical, what I would recommend to begin with is, and we can try this and see how it works, monitor it, that way we're not born to it. But I would say start with the 300 series lock, which is just a chain and a lock that anybody can unlock. And then you guys, police and fire has the 300 series, so if there is an issue, you can unlock that gate at any time and get into it. If this works out, what I would propose in another budget year is come back through and make this a sensor gate on a timer that automatically opens and closes on the timing that you set, and the vehicles that come up after hours has a remote. They hit it, they can open it and go in and do their thing and come out.
I think that's good, except for the fact that if you get somebody stuck in there because they weren't swept out prior to locking the gate.
The censored gates sense people on the other side and can let people out without letting people in.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good, but it still doesn't get people removed from the park prior to that. So if they're in the park and let's say it closes at 10, they could just remain in there until whenever, the next morning, if they wanted to.
Well, that's true, just like Chris and Gary are saying. I mean, it's the foot traffic that's getting in there anyway.
Yeah, but it sounds like there are cars coming in there too.
But there are, yeah, there's cars.
It says sensor gate, if they pull up, it's gonna open and let them.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is,
That time we'll have a cam post to push them away.
yeah, what I'm saying is like, if you're back in there after 10 and you don't want to leave, then you are in the gated community at that point. So, I just,
And the county has the same thing, so if yours, a couple of those gates, they lock in, you're there.
yeah. So, Randy, in other cities, is it common to see a security company come through and
No, I
sweep?
mean, it is common.
It is?
I mean, Salem, Eugene, Bend,
Yeah,
any of their sports complexes have gates on them, and they're patrolled.
they're patrolled.
Because if they're not in use, you're not supposed to be there. So that's a sports. Now, you're talking, the difference here, Empire Lakes is a natural area, so it's a different event for anybody. So it's not like you're going there for sports, but it's a natural park. What are you doing in there? You're either in the water and/or walking trails, enjoying the native areas, and/or exercising or playing on the play equipment.
Yeah. I think having some visual of security on a more frequent basis will help some of the residents in the nearby areas feeling a little bit more secure about walking in there. So,
I think it'll definitely improve the clientele of the park host as well.
The North Bend said they started theirs 2 years ago, and they said they wish they'd done it 10 years ago with their boat ramps in theirs.
really.
And so I went there to talk to them, and they said, this is a security company that we use, and they were the cheapest by far of the other four.
Really? Oh, so you've gotten several quotes then?
Yeah.
Perfect.
The police department would fully support a security, private security of some sort out there. It's made a major difference on the accessibility into our library when we started that, and our calls for service that we respond to have significantly dropped. So it would definitely benefit the police department to have, some sort of private security. Sweep that, get the bathrooms cleared out, get them locked, get the gates locked. So we definitely support that.
Okay, that's good. Now, I want to hear from Mark.
I'm in favor of a gate. Normally I'm not. This is not a free street.
Yeah.
We do carry a 300 series key
It is. I prefer not to go with a sensor, but whatever it takes to make everybody happy, I'm ready to do it.
Either way, fire department's not opposed to it. My only question would be the width of the gate, which, we need to maintain a fair amount of width.
Yeah, the same entrance would be the footprint of what we locked at. Yeah, so you'd have two 10-foot gates that open in and open out.
That's fine. Yeah, as long as it's both, maybe some more.
Okay, anyone have any other questions about the gates?
Randy, my question just was, if the gates are primarily to slow down vehicular traffic, are we going to go with a simplified gate style, with possibly upgrading that to remote control in the future? Or what are you anticipating the gates looking like?
I'm gonna bring them to you folks to look at and decide. So I'll get you some options, and then you can take a look at what ones you like.
I want it to look nice.
Yeah.
I want it to be inviting, not a scary, ominous
Well,
park
you
gate.
can kind of do like a hilly or a mountain. I don't know if you've seen them, wrought iron black ones on
Yeah.
pins.
Yeah.
And use that for Empire for an access point, but make them uniform so that they match each other on the two entrances.
Yep, I like that.
And I would also like to see an option for, at the pedestrian trails for some of the other locations, a gate style for if we need to move to that direction in the near future.
Okay. Are you talking about the pedestrian trail areas?
Yeah,
And-
just an idea.
Okay. Well, we can look at that. There's a lot of areas around that lake, so we can talk about it.
Okay.
So if we can get a motion on these two, 4 and 5.
I move to approve gates for the upper and lower Empire Lake to block off access to Pirate Court.
I think Pirate Court was part of the prior motion, so you want to limit it to just the lower and upper Empire Lakes.
Oh, I thought you said 4 and 5. Okay. Well, I move to approve gates for the lower and upper Empire Lake access points.
Perfect.
Second.
Is that Patty?
Yep.
Carmen with a first, Patty with a second. Do I hear any nays? Hearing no nays, the motion is approved. Randy, you'll get some styles over to us to take a look at?
You betcha. So within the next week or so, you'll see a bunch of them coming your way.
Okay, cool. I was gonna say probably timeliness is good for this.
Yes.
I realize it's been a long time, but
Yeah, now Trevor can pick up his materials and we'll work with him and get him his permit that he needs to
Yeah.
do his erection for that fence. Scott?
On that, do you want us to remove the dog box and the legal access signs that we have at the Pirate Court again?
Yes, yes. Okay, Arian, I turn it back over to you. So we're on
Okay, I'm going
number-
to turn it back to you for the update on the Mingus flagpole project.
Okay, so then, this is, if you recall, we did a project, or the Boy Scouts did a project there in the park, and which was the flagpole. And there's 616.35 left in that kitty for that project. I've gone back to them and said, hey, you got some money coming back to you. They said they would rather put it back into something there. So I thought about this, you know, they've done a really good job, and they're really, this isn't the first project they've done. I think would be good to do a plaque and mount it somewhere to the pole or near the pole to show that the Boy Scouts did this project.
I totally agree.
So there's money in here to make it happen, and I would say we kind of beautify that area and put the money to the flagpole when we renovate the park and do something else other than just a flagpole, but use them dollars for that process. Everybody agree to that?
I do. It'd be nice to get them some recognition on that.
I agree.
Do you need a motion on that, Randy?
Yes, I do, Eric.
This is Commissioner Matthews. I move to approve potential funding for a plaque to be provided at the Mingus Park flagpole location.
Sam will second.
Okay, so we have a first from Carmen, a second from Sam. Do I have any nays? Hearing no nays, the motion is approved. Randy, moving on to the Parks Master Plan update.
Yeah, well, we're getting close to finishing up this 10-year plan that we started in 2010. Kind of hard to believe that we're coming to the end of this plan again. So the good thing here is a lot of the plan is still in its fresh mind, the language, but our inventory's changed a little bit. Our needs have probably changed a little bit. So we may need to do a survey into the community and reach out and see what's most important to them again, and refresh inventory, needs assessment, and some maintenance and some schedules on some of these projects. I suggest after July 1st, we start getting into the nuts and bolts. The only reason why I say after that, because this plan is due up in 2023. So if we start it in 21, the planning phase, I can start pulling in segments of the master plan and start rewriting some of the needs and assessment after we get input.
Yeah. I think more input is always good.
Oh, yeah. Just want to draw to your minds, we're still, and they're down here in this, which I'm going to discuss with you here in a little bit, but, you know, Mingus is coming up on that, the dredging and all that, so that's kind of why I'm saying after July, to give us a chance to see where we're at with some of these others, that we can wipe off that list and create a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Randy. I think we can also use this as a great time to review and show to the public how much we have been able to accomplish and how much we've utilized grant dollars to get this done.
I agree. I mean, I can't say enough about staff and their commitment to the Mingus Pool project. I just want to go on record here and say that we had bids in the lower 900 to $1 million for renovation of the mechanical system in there, and we were able to do it internally for 500.
Wow.
So I don't think that gets enough talk, but we got bids for that. So there's a lot of money that was saved in that process.
That's great.
And there's more that we got to do in our facilities, but you know, you can only knock a chunk of the cheese off and chew on it so fast.
Yep.
And thank you for adding this to the agenda today. I just wanted to get it on everyone's mind to start thinking about the master plan, the process again, and things that we need to change. And I think the biggest change between when we did it before and looking at it now is safety and security in our parks, and thinking about that when we start this process again.
I totally agree, Erin, and I'm even going to go to the point where, you know, it's not a bad idea to start thinking about tech, you know, in IT, what we can do in these parking lot areas and put cameras, mobility, to give us some availability here, and to give PD some support here by having some cameras in the parking lot to see what's going on. If something's going on, they could prevent it maybe in advance if they seen it on camera or something. Mm-hmm. Or you got some video of the issue. Okay, so moving on to the next.
Boat ramp.
Yeah, so I brought these to you, both East Side and Empire, back here about a month ago. Oregon State Marine Board was really concerned with the status of Empire boat ramp, and that's when we had talked about dusk to dawn. And I'm going to let Gary here kind of hound in on some hours. I totally get where he's coming from on these hours and understand why they need them. They need a definite time and not a dusk to dawn type of application. So Gary is suggesting that we go to 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. on the hours, and I don't think that's a bad idea. Gary, you want to give us some insight on it?
Well, the main reason is that you got, I mean, the intended use of the boat ramps is for boat launching and activities, water activities on the bay. There's certain times of the year where you got different fishing season, you got different people going out and coming in at different times. Usually it's, you know, right before dusk, and sometimes right after, or right before dawn, and sometimes right after dusk. So, and the way everything kind of changes. So I think it'd be a little easier to delineate if it was a fixed hour. And then obviously, if there's individuals out there using the boat ramp for their intended purpose, police have the discretion, if it's closed from 5 to 10 and somebody's there at 4:30 in the morning wanting to put their boat in to get out early, I mean, that's a discretionary thing that we can work with.
Sure.
The main thing is just to give us some tools, I guess, for lack of better terms, on preventing the overnight camping, the, vehicles just rolling up down in there, sleeping in their car, partying at night, and the activities that aren't meant for the boat ramps. So.
And just so we talked about it earlier too, if we adopted the hours of operation for 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., these would fall in line with the security guard or the security services that we were talking about earlier. So they'd be the ones, opening and closing and clearing the restrooms during that period of time.
Are we thinking the same time period for Empire Lakes?
Yes.
So,
And Gary, is a set time more beneficial for all parks versus the dusk to dawn?
Well, it's definitely easier to police if you got exact date, times. But I know I believe right now the parks are dusk to dawn, Randy.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, which works, obviously. But if you're going to keep it consistent across all the parks, including the boat ramps and whatnot, then it'd probably be better to do a fixed time across the board.
I recommend just that. That would be my opinion.
I agree. Right now it gets dark at 5 o'clock, and if you're just getting off work and you want to just go for a walk real quick, even if it's dark, it's kind of nice to be able to get outside.
Yeah.
Scott?
In the summer, during ball time, they're out there with lights, they're playing ball past 10 o'clock.
Okay,
But they can lock up that bathroom.
but you're talking about a sports complex,
Yes.
which is gonna be different than the park in that general area, so.
Well, they would lock the bathrooms, but both of them at the same time.
Well, no, the sports complex would work under different hours if we weren't under lockdown the way it is and we had our ball fields back operational the way they were before the COVID come, you could set the hours of operation for that sports complex to be in line with that activity. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying as well.
Yeah, so that one might be a standalone type of system. Does that make sense to everybody?
Right across the board, it's going to say, hey, it should be shut down.
Right. No, you shut the Mingus down like we normally do, but if they don't end their games till 11 o'clock, let's say they had a doubleheader or whatever, that would stay open. There's restrooms there on that side of the facility, so they would close after that.
So one thing that was brought up during the city council meeting was like tuna fish season. Sometimes people go out before 5 a.m. Like they might leave at 3.
This is what Gary was alluding to. If there's hours there, they can be a little bit more flexible in that terms.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
You're setting the hours for the one reason.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't want to say I'm picking and choosing here, but that's the reason why.
Yep. No, that makes sense. And, letting the police have their own discretion, I think, is the way to go. Cool.
Great. Randy, are you looking at a motion to revise the hours for all the
Yes.
parks?
Yeah, because we had a motion to do the dusk to dawn, so I'll need a motion for the 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And I'd like, when you make that motion, let's make it for all our park facilities that we use as recreational.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that all of our parks and recreation facilities to be open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. unless there is an organized, pre-approved, city-approved event occurring at the park.
Very good.
Second. Commissioner Matthews seconds.
Do I have any further comment? Does anyone have a nay in regards to the motion? Hearing no nays, the motion is approved. Restrooms.
Okay, so the Mingus Park restroom, that's the one we're really having a lot of issues with. I would recommend, we need a restroom out there, but the problem of it is, that one that's there is just basically a homeless home, and no one else uses it. So I'm saying we close that facility down and put a porta potty, both ADA and a regular porta potty in there for now. We are gonna be demoing this, so eventually we're gonna need something else in there. If we don't get a handle of the sanitation issues out there and we go to build the new ones, what are we gonna do there? I can have the security guards clear this out and we can try this. If everybody's agreeable, we can try this with the security guards first and see how this works before we make a motion to say close them. Is everybody on board with that?
Security guards for the Mingus Park ones?
You bet.
No?
We'll use them for opening and closing all the restrooms, the gates that we just talked about, except Trevor's issue there, that's permanently closed until we revisit it again. If everybody's okay with that, then I would say we just travel on, don't worry about the restroom until we get the security folks on board and see how that goes.
Yeah, I do worry about completely closing them down. I mean, I guess you'd have the porta potties there, but they are pretty bad right now.
Yeah, that's,
I don't even know if it's worth keeping them.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm sitting here with you guys. In my personal opinion, I walk out and the sanitation of them, they shouldn't be open. They should be closed. And we should put porta potties out there.
Randy, I think we should just go ahead and skip to just closing them and doing the porta potties. I think we're beyond having them locked at night.
I agree.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Okay.
They're
Can I get a motion on that?
I make a motion that we close the Mingus Park restrooms at this time and replace their uses with porta potties.
Commissioner Matthews, second.
I have a first and a second. Do I have any nays? Hearing no nays, motion carries.
Well,
Randy?
number 10 then, Arian, is basically just, the rest of them are, the 10, 11 are just updates basically, but Safe Routes to School, we are about 94, 95% complete. So they're wrapping around, there's two more ramps that they've got to put in, vehicle access ramps and curb and gutter, and tie those in. Once they're done, they got trees that get planted out there in the right of way, so we've got a bunch of trees that get planted out there. So probably about the third week of January, mid-January, they'll be wrapping that project up and it's done. I've had a lot of praises from the state on this project. Pedestrian advocates have also mentioned how wonderful it's looking. They're going to be doing a flyby again. So you have the one that when they first started, I don't know if you guys remember, they did a video of it. Now they'll do another video of it when it's all done.
Great.
So we'll be flowing that here at the next meeting whenever I'm privy to it. So that project's come along. It'll be wrapped up about mid to the third week of January. 4th Street, as you can see out there, most of the flat work from Donnelly down on the west side of 4th has been done, most of it. They still have some in the block of Anderson and Commercial they're wrapping up or getting to, depending on the weather, they're fitting that in. The goal is to get both sides wrapped out. Right now, get that flat work and the gutters in. You can see the new traffic signal poles going up. You're going to have 100% better light capacity in those systems than what you had in the old ones, because these will be LED, and the characters on those LEDs throw out about 100 feet. So they're going to be really nice, not up, not across or down, but straight out into the right of way. So they will highlight that intersection a lot better.
Nice.
They'll probably start in March, going from Anderson on the other side down for the road embedment. So they'll be rationing out half of that road where you see the sidewalks already been put in. They'll be bringing that up to grade, so you got an active road that you can drive on. But that'll start in March. As weather gets better, they'll increase also with additional crews out here, okay? And one project's not on here because I just attended it today, and I'll give you a little bit of a little summary of it, and that's Johnson and Highway 101. That project is going to start January 4th. It's an ODOT, Oregon Department of Transportation project. It involves replacing the signals that are at Johnson and Highway 101, both north and south. Those will be fitted with new technology that has fire and police capability for changing the light, same as our other ones here that we're doing with 4th and 3rd. It will be upgraded to that. The software won't be in it. I just want to make sure everybody knows when we go to do that and we're ready to do that, we just add the software and the chips. But the cabinet and the hardware and everything's there. That's what I've got.
Andy, I have a question on that. This could be something we could talk on the side about, but yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to like the Opticon system, and
Yes.
maybe when we get there and the city decides to purchase, or ODOT or whatever, we could just be apprised of that so we can make sure our vehicles are equipped with the proper equipment.
Yes. Are you talking about getting some cost estimates to upgrade it to it now?
Well, we have two vehicles that are just now getting ready to be built. And so just to have that, I've worked before at an agency that had the Opticon, and it's a huge benefit to police and fire, but we just need to know what type of equipment to outfit our vehicles with.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, we can get that all put together.
Okay.
Okay. Did you hear that, Chris? Mark's
No,
got
I didn't. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Mark's got some of this information already.
Okay.
Our vehicles have Opticom capability. Wherever you are.
Did you hear that? Fire department has Opticon capability now.
Okay. Okay. I'll have a sideline conversation with Chief Anderson.
Okay. And then if you guys just let me know what it is that you, I mean, I can always go right to ODOT, and this can get, spec'd out through the state, so it's up to you, whatever. But I would
Okay.
need to know in advance here.
Thank you.
Okay. That is all I have, Arian. Does anyone else have any questions of me? Turn it
Any
over to you.
commissioner comments?
I have one, or I guess a comment about all the things that we're having to do. It's really unfortunate to have to limit access for our public rights of way, but I feel at this point we've come to a crossroads where public safety has become more important than the access, unfortunately. So as a commissioner, I mean, it really saddens me to have to make these decisions, but I'm glad that we're making some steps taking some steps forward so that people using our parks can, feel safe bringing their families there, and maybe get more proper use of our parks back again. That's all I have.
Thank you, Carmen. Any other comments from commissioners?
I'd like to throw one comment out there before we close up. Did you guys get my email about the University of Oregon?
I don't think I saw that.
Nope.
No, it's not on the agenda, but I sent an email out to everybody. They were requesting applications. I don't know, you guys are aware that they rehabbed Hayward Field. Well, doing so,
yes.
they had massive lumber, glue limbs, major stair treads that were like 5 feet by 8 inches thick. These are really nice ones. So I put a program together and an application to the University of Oregon, and I heard back. I did that in November, and I heard back Monday from Carolyn there at the university, and we are awarded all that material. So these glue lambs are fairly large, and they are very expensive. I don't know if anybody's construction minded here, but typical glue lamb could run $5,000 to $10,000 for a single glue lamb. Glue lambs are used for picnic shelters. You can build picnic shelters, pavilions, and this type of thing. Well, how better of a use for that than to put it in the park? And my thought process in my discussion with the university is we could donate, I mean, they're donating the material to the city, so if we reuse the material into a pavilion, we would have a little plaque that talks about Hayward Field and where the material come to make that happen. And university thought that was a marvelous idea.
Perfect.
So we're going to get that material. I'm going to send a truck down, a 40-foot low bed, and I mean, it is a truckload of material. So we will bring it back for the enhancements of Mingus Park and the pavilions that we'll do there as well.
Oh, it's for Mingus Park is what
Yep.
you're thinking.
And the fishing piers that we're talking about, so there's stairs that can be made, ADA accessibility out of them. You can rubberize these big treads and make them permanent, non-slip, and it'll work perfect. So
Great.
we've got a lot of positive in that
Go-
material.
Go Ducks, Randy. You should tie it in with the mural downtown, the Prefontaine,
Yeah,
because he ran both places.
sure. And then the other item too is I talked to a gentleman named Dave Lacey. He's with the Oregon Visitors Bureau. And Carol had talked to him, Carolyn from planning. Well, we got to discussion there, Lacey did, and he had mentioned that, hey, you guys got a disc golf course there. Are you interested in some donations? And I said, well, what are you talking? And he goes, well, how about some new baskets? And I said, well, can you get us 10? And he goes, done. And I said, professional level? He goes, yeah, well, they're $600 each. So you're talking about a $9,000, $10,000 donation from the Oregon Visitor Bureau. So I sent them a letter thanking them, and then we will do some PSA with them once we rehab and put the new baskets up, get down here and have a barbecue or something. Hopefully, this pandemic's gone.
Yeah.
Well, I
sounds
personally, Sam is very excited about the new disc golf baskets. I think that'll be awesome for Mingus.
Yeah, and then I think in the master planning for Empire, you know, I think there's some areas out there that we could consider something of that nature. You want to talk about getting that element out of there. You know, you add these type of activities into a natural park, I think you're enticing that, so.
Well, it definitely promotes a little bit more use of the natural areas and not just the AC pathways, so I
Correct.
like that idea.
Okay, that's all I had, Aaron.
Wonderful.
Any other commissioner comments? No? I'm seeing heads shake no. Thank everybody for coming to the Zoom/in-person meeting today. It's another productive parks meeting, and I'm looking forward to what we accomplish in 2021. So everyone have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you all,
Cheers. Happy New Year's.
appreciate it.
Wonderful.
Yep, so